Welcome, please.
Hi again. Can you guys hear me? Excellent. Hi, Shan.
Hi.
Thank you very much for coming on, and I have just one question for you.
Yes.
Will you marry me? No, I'm just kidding.
Maybe.
No, anyway, welcome. Thank you for coming. You've got an amazing business going, Zola, wedding website for wedding planning, right? You guys are huge, absolutely massive. You started in when? 2013, right?
Yeah, 2013, also known as the year all my friends got married at exactly the same time, and was going to a lot of weddings that year, spending a lot on travel, presents, a lot of angst on both my part and my friends getting married part, and thought, you know, a lot of these wedding registries that I'm buying from seem outdated, antiquated. I feel like myself and my co-founder, we could build a much better product for our friends getting married today.
So you built it out of a kind of personal experience?
Exactly.
Like House, which I always think of you guys as a little like House. So that's interesting.
Yeah, we share some common investors who kind of see the analogies between you know, what House has done in home renovation, we're doing in the wedding space.
So it's a funny thing, though, because you pointed out, I mean, there were like a ton of sites out there already when you guys hit the market. How was that? I mean, did that mean that it was actually really hard to get users in the beginning? How did you carve out a place for yourself in what's pretty antiquated market?
Well, we looked at the entire wedding planning process and thought, why is it that on average before Zola, a couple has to use 20 different sites to plan one day? Many of these sites or apps not even built for wedding planning, when couples today who are the millennial generation, they have so much great apps and products in every other part of their life, and they expect a lot more. And so we thought, what if we could build the ultimate go-to site and app where couples could plan everything for their one day in the one place? And let's start with wedding registry, because that's what we know. It's e-commerce related. That's where we are particularly strong with our background. And we found that that space alone was valuable and underserved, and we could innovate to give couples what they really wanted, whether it was products or experiences or cash, in a beautiful registry, all in the one place.
Right. So you guys are, just to make that clear, the thing that you're doing that's quite interesting is that, yes, it's a marketplace where, yes, you can register for specific things like tea kettles, but you can also do other things, right? You don't have to register for actual objects, which is very in keeping with how people shop today, right?
That's right. And it turns out today's couples, on average, we see want to register for a mix of all of these things, from traditional things like kettles to more products of today, like a Sonos sound system, to experiences like wine tasting, to cash.
And do you do gift cards and stuff like that too?
We also do that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Very modern. Okay, so on the subject of modern, though, it's kind of an interesting thing. I mean, it's amazing the success you've had, but it's also so surprising, partly because of the fact that like wedding sites were the first ones to hit the web when the web first came into existence, but also because marriage has changed so much. I was looking up some stats, and it's half of all people over 18 are married now, get married typically, but it's gone down massively in the US. It's like since 1990, and then you've got just all sorts of other things, like they're getting married much later. Loads of people aren't getting married. The traditional, man and woman obviously has completely been thrown out the window. And yet you still have a place there. So are you guys like catering to all of what I've just described, or what?
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things I think myself and my team are most proud of is that we build products that serve any type of couple, no matter who they are, where they live within the US, or whatever device they live on. And we do see for sure that couples getting married today are unlike any previous generation. So the average age of a couple getting married today is much older.
How old is it?
It's on average 28 to 30, whereas just our parents' generation, the average age was maybe 21 to 22.
Right.
And what that means is that couples today, they live together before they get married on average. They're both working. They both have a lot of time to think about what marriage and weddings mean to them. And so really the idea of personalizing your wedding and your marriage is so much more important now, I think, because people get that level of personalization in every other part of their life online.
Yeah. Are you guys at all looking at just couples who are sort of making lifetime commitments? Is that something that you also cater for?
Well, we are happy to serve couples. Really, we think of it as a life stage where you're kind of transitioning from a single person to engaged, making a commitment to each other, and transitioning into often a newlywed home together. And that's expensive, stressful, joyful, and not a lot of things to help you make that transition.
Okay. So another interesting thing about your site is this marketplace model that you're doing has at the same time, it's a sort of freemium. So to create those registries is totally free. Of course, you make some conversion, you make commissions on when some of those registry items get purchased. But you've also got things like invitation planning and so on. How do you draw people into more of the paid products of the site? And how much of an issue is it to get people to do things that drive revenue for you guys?
So I should clarify, our business model for our wedding registry specifically, the best analogy here is it's a hybrid of an e-commerce site and a marketplace site, in that we have on Zola over 800 brands that we work directly with in the Zola store, over 80,000 products. And while couples can register for them, guests can buy them, it's like any other e-commerce site, and we make money through a wholesale retail margin as any other retailer does. The twist around the marketplace is that we don't hold inventory in these 80,000 products. And that allows us to offer much more than you might find on a normal site. So that's registry. And then with the launch of our newest business, Invitations and Paper, that is more similar to a vertically integrated D2C company where we have Zola branded invitations, and couples can pick whatever design they want, print it, customize it with their guest list on our site, which is free, and their wedding website, which is free. And the idea here is that we want to offer tools that people expect to be free for free. And then there's things they're already paying for on hundreds of other sites. We want to do it in an easier way at great value.
Are you finding, though, that you're able to convert those people from the free aspects into the monetizing aspects? Is that a challenge for you guys, or is it really simple because once somebody decides to get married, they've essentially bought into the idea that they're going to blow 10 grand?
Well, the reason we've expanded into many of these new products is because our couples have been asking us and begging us and demanding that we do it. So when we set out to build the company, I don't think we ever thought we're going to be invitations printer, but the couples who use us for registry said, I'd love to also make you my wedding website. I'd love to print my invitations, my place cards, my menus with you in the same design. And that's what drew us. And so, yes, many couples are following us through that journey because they asked for it and for us to serve them in that way.
Okay. Now, you guys today are announcing a new thing that you're adding to extend that even further, which is the sort of post-wedding honeymoons, right? Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so excited to announce today the launch of our latest product, which is our Honeymoons product. And this was really based on the demand of Zola couples asking us to help them also plan, get inspiration for, and book their honeymoon all in the one place.
And that is something you're going to be expanding kind of over time to include flights and things like that, right?
Exactly. So at launch, which is next month, we already have a waiting list of thousands of Zola couples who have put themselves on our waiting list to use this product. And the way it works is that through our technology and our team of travel experts, couples can tell us this is what they would love to do for their honeymoon, this is their general travel style, budget, dates, and then we will send back an itinerary, which they can iterate and then book with us from there.
Yeah.
At launch next month, it'll be focused first and foremost on accommodation and experiences, and then over time, we would aim to help you book everything you need to do for your honeymoon.
And then once you do things like flights for the couples, then you'll start to offer that as something for like families and friends who are coming to weddings and stuff too? Or do you see yourself as is this the sort of foothold to continue expanding deeper into other areas of how you can serve travel needs, or?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
I think the most exciting thing for us and something that our customers have drawn us into is that with each of our businesses within Zola, they have shown us the product and the business roadmap based on their own life journey. So in the same way that for our paper business, we started first with save the dates, then invitations. They said, how about menus, programs, thank you cards, and more types of paper that you send out? Same with travel. We will see honeymoons, but then there's a lot of different types of travel couples and their guests take in and around the wedding, right, whether it's before, during, or after the wedding. And we're building a technology and a team to serve that.
Okay, so now this is something that slightly shifts to something I want to talk about a little bit later, but the fact is that I looked into what the average length is for planning a wedding, and it's between 13 and 18 months.
Yeah.
So that effectively implies that that's how long you would have a customer. Like a customer would only be your customer for about a year to a year and a half. How are you guys thinking about them, and how are you thinking you might potentially extend that? Because that's not a very long time to be a customer.
Well,
I mean, Amazon, I'm guessing, has customers for a lot longer than a year.
So I think what many people are surprised about, and they kind of think about, oh, it's a short time period, and so therefore it must not be a big market. But what is surprising to many people is that weddings time and that market alone is a $100 billion market in the US. And where some people might say, 18 months is a short time, we would say, actually, it's a highly intensive, high spend, high stress time, and so that's a big opportunity. And when you look at the market and every other category that is fueled by millennial spending of the same size, there are multi-billion dollar disruptors that have emerged in those markets to win those categories. Weddings is one of the only remaining categories that has not seen a disruptor emerge to take this size market, and that's what we're focused on.
So does that mean that you don't have plans to do things like Zola parents or anything like that? Do you think that would be the kind of thing that would dilute your focus too much? Or do you think that's a natural step, the way that honeymoons is a natural step?
We will serve couples in this life stage. And the definition of the life stage has actually expanded over time as our couples have grown up with us. So the first cohort of couples with Zola got married in 2014.
Are they on their second weddings now?
No.
Good. That's good.
But many of them are asking for us to continue helping them with things for their home or elsewhere, and we are doing that.
So you will probably at some point extend into other areas, we could say.
Maybe some point, but
maybe some. You're not going to announce that news here on stage today. Okay, that's fair enough. Okay, I have to ask you, because I feel like if you've got any entrepreneurs out here who are in e-commerce, any kind of marketplace thing, whether it's in weddings or something else, this is always the big elephant in the room, is Amazon. Now, I did a little research, I didn't know it, but apparently Amazon has a wedding site.
Yes.
And Amazon, of course, wants to get further into travel. So they're probably going to look at honeymoons attached to their wedding sites and build up their wedding site. How much of a problem is that for you?
Well, they've been in weddings and in wedding registries from way before we launched Zola, and yet we've still seen phenomenal growth. We've still seen a lot of copycats from many competitors copy us, and so it keeps us motivated to stay ahead, to continue to innovate in each of the product lines that we have. But what no one else has is this ecosystem of all the wedding planning products all in the one place that talk to each other. So for example, in honeymoons, you can imagine if we have a registry where you can register for specific things on your honeymoon, guests can buy for you from Zola. It can feed into your honeymoon purchase. And then you are on your honeymoon, you have that item, you can send your thank you note via Zola to the person that bought you that gift, all in one click on your mobile device. That's something that is hard to do, but magical and makes a ton of sense. And we are really uniquely positioned to deliver on that vision. It's one example of 100 interconnections that I think make us unlike any other company.
Has Amazon ever tried to acquire you guys?
We, I can't even speculate on that right now because we have a lot to do and we are just getting started.
Yeah, no, I didn't ask if you'd ever thought of acquisition. I just asked if Amazon had tried to acquire you guys.
No.
No, they haven't. Okay. Or no, don't go there, Ingrid.
No good, don't go there.
Okay. Okay, fair enough. Okay. I'll ask you another time. Okay, so here's a question that actually my editor, Matthew Panzarino, really wanted to know about, which I'm quite interested in too. So his secret life before going into tech was that he was a photographer. And as he pointed out to me, in photography, if you're like a photographer, about 80% of your business is actually weddings. So that kind of opens up an interesting area. So you guys are doing a lot of vertically integrated stuff, like your invites, like the honeymoons, you're doing it all, building it up. But there's this really obvious way of interlinking with suppliers and other marketplaces, like photographers. How do you see stuff like that? So we're talking about this really important element of the wedding process, which right now is pretty fragmented. Yes. But that's a really big area to then start to try to mobilize contractors effectively. That's totally outside of what you're doing already. So how will you tackle things like that? Would you want to?
Absolutely, and this is actually one of the things that we have started to build, and I would consider in beta phase right now on Zola, yeah, where we have the ability to let photographers or wedding venues or local vendors that serve and help couples with their weddings create beautiful, unique profiles on Zola and then be matched to couples that they think will be most appropriate to them. And likewise, the couples, today, we've started primarily in New York and Charlottesville, but couples who want to get married in those areas can go on, specify what type of venue they're interested in, right, budget, people, and get just a select number of matches for their preferences. And so that's something also no one else does, and we're trying to innovate and push the envelope on that.
So you're doing more of that sort of localized services, service providers, contractor databases, and so on.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Brilliant.
And towards, really towards the end vision of, we know today you have to go to 100 different sites to try to match all the different types of vendors for that one day, and you want to know really what is the social network of a venue or a photographer that works well together, and can I see examples on Zola of weddings and then book it right there.
Yeah, that's very cool. Okay, we only have a minute, which isn't enough time for me to ask this rather large question, but you guys are a New York startup.
Yes.
You're now valued at 650 million. You've raised over 140 million, which is absolutely impressive. How much of a challenge was it to raise that money? A, being out of New York, B, being a wedding site, C, being a woman.
Well, I think every single founder I've spoken to, no matter gender or where they live, fundraising is challenging for anyone, I think. And
not just in New York.
Exactly.
Not just because of the wedding.
Yes. And I think in the early days, before we had shown, we could launch a great product that people loved, that had huge growth, it was certainly harder because there were a lot of bodies buried in the weddings category. But now we've shown we can do something in a category that no one else has been able to do, and people are very excited.
And they're like that. You've also got some interesting background with, your background from the Guild Group and so on. So that probably helped you?
Yeah, so the team, the leadership
experience.
Team, we have history in good times, bad times, and we know what to do and what to avoid.
Yeah. I know, guilt definitely nosedived, but you think that's the sort of thing that sometimes helps. When you have somebody who's been through that, you think, actually, they know exactly what not to do, so.
Exactly.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.